All right. So the first step that we're going to talk about in our program design process is what's called the one-on-one assessment and goal setting session. Okay. So this is really the first time, and I say really like it's like figurative. This really is the first time that we are meeting this person, unless they happen to have dropped by the gym to check things out prior, right? But before we jump into all the details of how this session goes down, I want to talk about the overarching three goals that we have during the lifetime for all of our clients. Goal number one is for them to create a habit of consistency, but we can help facilitate that if that leads us to try and create an environment and human interactions that would lead towards them being more consistent. So that's a big part of what this session is about. Number two, I think it goes without saying, but we want them to crush their goals and have fun doing it. Now, you could argue that they don't need to have fun as they go about crushing their goals. But if they're not having fun, they're going to be a whole lot less likely to be consistent. Right back there to point number one. So consistency, crush goals, and have fun doing it. And the third one, we want them to build competency and independence. Now, sometimes when we present this, we get trainers and especially gym owners shaking their head like, I don't want my people getting too independent because then they won't need me. Well, you're just scared. That's all. People aren't going to leave. People don't come to you because they want to feel stupid and depend on your directing their every move, right? If we create an environment that people have fun in, we help them to be consistent and they're continually crushing their goals, then they're going to stick around. But why do we want to create competency and independence? Well, because if people are constantly having to be reminded of how to do every single thing, it's going to create two problems. Number one, it's going to suck up resources on the floor, and the coaches are constantly going to be focused on helping this one person, taking away from the overall experience of everyone else in the gym. But maybe, in fact, I would argue it is more important. Point number two is that if they are lacking competency with, squatting, hinging, pushing, pulling, the exercises on their program, they're not going to be able to train with appropriate intensity to actually accomplish their goals. And if they're not feeling very competent, and they in fact are not competent, they're not going to have fun with this process because no one likes to feel silly and stupid, okay? So you can see how this is kind of creating a cyclical process. Consistency, crush goals, have fun doing it, competency. Independence goes back to that piece I was just talking about. We want them to have independence so that they can navigate the gym environment and not suck up all the resources. But we also want them to be able to take the skills that we help them to develop outward everywhere else in their life. Okay, so consistency, crush goals, and have fun doing it, competency, and independence. Those are the big three things that we're after. So, as I mentioned in the video that kind of provided the big overview, people are likely coming in through a referral, through the front end offer on our website of a free week, or a 30-day VIP experience promotion. Regardless of how they're coming in, we're going to have a conversation with them. But let's use the free week as an example, right? So they click here to claim your free week. This thing pops up, not this big, I just zoomed in, and they enter their name, email, phone number, how they heard about us, and what their preferred form of contact is. Phone call, email. They could put in just one of those, they could put in all of those, which is going to lead us to reach out through their preferred form of contact. So if they check all of them, we will hit them with a phone call. If they don't answer, we'll leave them a voicemail. We'll shoot them over a text message letting them know we left a voicemail and we're excited to talk with them, and we'll follow that with an email. Might sound like overkill, but we seem to do pretty well with it. And after that, as for what we say, whether it is a voicemail, a text message, or an email, obviously the text message and the email might look slightly different, but generally this is what we're going to say. Hey, Chris, I just got your free week request and I'm reaching out to get this process rolling. As it says here, sometimes I'll enter something personal, like we're looking forward to hearing what Dr. Crane said that piqued your interest in training with us. Are there any questions before we jump to scheduling your one-on-one assessment and goal setting session and personal orientation sessions? If so, ask away and I'll be happy to answer. And if you're ready to schedule, do you prefer morning, afternoon, or evenings? Looking forward to talking and meeting you soon. Best, Chris. And then as it says, sometimes I'll add a PS, something like, what made you start this search for a gym to join? And it says it down there below in white. It's really hard to read, but it says phone call. I just covered the above through conversation if they answer. Once they're scheduled, this is very important. I let them know to look for a confirmation email, as it's going to have 3 very important things. Because if someone misses this email, the whole process doesn't really get rolling. So number 1, our address and exactly how to find our entrance. The last thing you want is someone to feel frustrated in their first interaction with you when they're driving around your parking lot and able to find your place. Trust me, I know through experience. Number 2, I let them know that there's going to be a questionnaire, a link to a questionnaire in that email that I ask they take the time to fill out and submit before the initial meeting. I usually even say submit it at least 12 hours before the initial meeting so that we can prep for our meeting. And then number 3, there's also going to be a link to information about exactly what's going to happen at this first meeting. And that really is about killing any anxiety they have of like, I don't know, like I'm scheduled, I'm going to show up, what's going to happen. We want to make sure that they're at ease with this entire process. As for the questionnaire, they click it, boom, it brings them to this web page here. And we're going to go through and look at the questions. Today, we're not really going to talk through how we do the interview. That's going to be coming up. I'm just going to walk you through the big picture of how this session goes. So they click the link, they get to this page on our website, and here's the things they fill out. The date, their name, date of birth, their age, their address, so that we can contact them, send them cool stuff in the mail, their cell phone number, their email address, their preferred form of contact. Again, because maybe it's different than whenever they filled out the free week form, or maybe they were a referral and we didn't actually have them fill out the free week form. So we ask them again what their preferred form of contact is, what their occupation is, what their work physical activity level is, because that's pretty important to know. If there's someone that's like a manual labor, like real hard work type of job versus a desk job, those people are probably going to have different needs and concerns coming in the door. What their work hours are like, and you can start to kind of see, like, is this person going to have some difficulty getting into the gym? Are they someone that's in complete control of their schedule? Next up, this is a difference from anyone that's been through this before, even as recent as our last program design course that we did. This used to be towards the end of this form, but we decided to move it to the beginning before we burned up too many brain cells filling out all of the more mindless portions of it. Because the first part, we want them to put in work and really paint a picture for us what it is that they'd like to accomplish. So these 3 questions that help us to do that are, if we were meeting 1 year from today, and you were to look back over the last year to today, what has to have happened during that period for you to feel happy about your progress? Please write a book here. The more detailed, the better. The next question, if we could figure this out, what value will this bring to your life? What doors will it open? How will your life be better? Next question, how will we know we are on track? What can we measure along the way? Right? So when people fill these out thoroughly, which they don't always do, it makes it much, much, much easier to connect with what's important to them, what they're really looking to accomplish. And we found that this works a whole lot better than just saying, what are your goals? Which is what we used to do. Okay. If that top question interests you, if we were meeting 1 year from today, it's called it's a take on what's called the R factor question. And there's an entire book on it by Dan Sullivan. That's not me recommending you out and get the book. I don't think that's necessary, but just throwing it out there that that's not some question that we designed, because you might look at it and think that's an oddly worded question. It's actually a heavily, I don't know if researched is the right word, but it's a heavily used question in the sales world, and it's really, really good at getting people to vision and think through what they want and get themselves to think forward to a year from now, as opposed to, what are your goals? And they're like, what they're going to write. What are your goals? Lose weight, get stronger, gain more energy, This seems to give us some better answers. All right. So next up, we're going to look at some 1 to 10 answers. How important is building muscle to you on a scale of 1 to 10? 1 being not important, 10 being extremely important. I'm going to go fast here. So how important is building muscle? How important is gaining strength? How important is dropping weight, body fat? How important is improving cardiovascular endurance? How important is sweating during a workout? How important is improving your overall health? How important is feeling better? How important is looking better? How important is resistance to injury? How important is increasing energy? How important is using proper exercise form, doing things safely and correctly? How important is variety? Okay. Then, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel about pushing through pain and or discomfort? A 1 would mean something along the lines of, I stop at the first sign of anything feeling at all off. 10 equals no pain, no gain. Then we give them an opportunity to expand on whatever they select there. Anything you'd like to add to explain the number you picked above. Then, have you ever worked with a trainer or done instructor-led fitness before? I'm going to pause right here. So if you notice, what we've done at this point is we've asked them their goals in more of a long form, why that matters to them, how we can measure it. So it's all about like discovery at that point. Then we continue the discovery process with, okay, taking that into these different facets of health and fitness, all these 1 to 10 questions, right? We're discovering more like, okay, these individual components, how important are they to you? And there's a couple things. We may learn barriers that we need to overcome. Like someone says that they want to lose weight and increase energy, but they say that building muscle and getting stronger is like very, very low on the importance scale to them, but cardio and sweating during a workout is very high. Well, what I'm able to determine from that is that this person probably thinks they need some type of like high intensity interval training and they need cardio to increase energy and burn fat. Okay, we've got to overcome some limiting beliefs that if I were to just have written them a strength and conditioning program with the emphasis on strength, because we know the benefits of resistance training and building muscle and know they're not going to get bulky. I know you guys know that, but I'm telling you what they're concerned about, so that we can actually bump up their metabolism a bit. That's could be a problem if I give them a program like that and they're like, what? Like this person doesn't understand that I want to lose weight and increase energy because of the limiting belief they have. But because now I've seen what they think they need to do, their 1 to 10s, I can have an idea combined with what they said they want to do, their 1 year from now question and what's important to them. And I can start to have that conversation before we even write their program of what, within reason, what that's going to look like and why. And right then and there say, does that make sense? Do you have any questions, comments, concerns? Okay. Now we're going to start to get into some of the kind of, that was discovery. Now we're going to kind of get into the past types. On a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel about pushing through pain, discomfort? We talked about that. Next, have you ever worked with a trainer or done instructor-led fitness before? Yes or no? If yes, what have you done? And just to help them out, we have here things like one-on-one personal training, small group personal training, CrossFit, spin, Orange Theory, yoga, etc. The reason why we ask that is because we can start to say, what have you been doing most well, let me skip this. Because we can start to look at, well, what have they tried in the past? All right, they're still looking for an answer. That's why they're here. So we could ask them, what worked? Like things here, like tell us a little bit about your likes, dislikes, what's worked for you in the past, what maybe hasn't worked so much in the past, right? Going back up, what have you been doing most recently to try and accomplish your health, fitness, performance goals? And then to the bottom here, what have been your biggest struggles when it has come to accomplishing your health, fitness, performance goals currently and or in the past? So like I said, this is, we went discovery. Now we're kind of into the past stuff. We're starting to look at what roadblocks. They've tried these other things. Well, why do you think it didn't work? Or it did work, but it wasn't sustainable. Why do you think that is, right? I'm kind of getting into the interview. We're going to talk more in depth about this tomorrow, but that's what we're really getting at with all these questions here. Then we're starting to get into some lifestyle factors. On average, how many hours of sleep do you get each night? Do you sleep through the night? Do you wake up feeling rested and energized? Do you struggle with energy throughout the day? How do you feel like you're currently doing with your nutrition? And how would you describe your overall stress levels? Then we get into medical health injury history. So a whole bunch of options here. They can check off any of them, or at the very bottom, none of the above. Have you ever suffered from or been diagnosed with any of the following, right? I'm not going to read them all off. You can see it. But there may be some things that are missing from there. So the next question, any other injuries or concerns? Nothing is too small. Then surgeries. Please list any surgeries, dates, and types. We don't need to know about routine procedures like wisdom teeth, tonsils, but if you've had surgery that was due to a complication, injury, or an event that impacted your ability to take part in your daily activities of living, please list them out. Then we get into your standard PAR-Q, physical activity readiness questionnaire questions. Do you have a family history of your father or other first-degree relative suffering, other male first-degree relative suffering an MI or sudden death before age 55? MI is myocardial infarction, which is a heart attack. Do you smoke? Has your doctor ever said you have a heart condition and that you should only do physical activity recommended by your doctor? Do you feel pain in your chest when you do physical activity? In the past month, have you had chest pain when you were not doing physical activity? Do you lose your balance because of dizziness, or do you ever lose consciousness? Do you have a bone or joint problem that could be made worse by a change in your physical activity? Is your doctor currently prescribing drugs, i.e. water pills, for your blood pressure or heart condition? Do you know of any other reason why you should not do physical activity? Are you taking any medications? If yes to medications, please list. If my health should change so that I should answer yes to any of the above yes or no questions and medications during our time working together, I understand that I am responsible for informing Beyond Strength Performance Nova LLC. Yes, no. How would your best friend describe you? Weird question, I know. We'll talk about that. And then emergency contact. Something happens. Obviously, we're going to call 911, but after that, who do you want to call? Their name, their relationship, your relationship to them, and the phone number. Okay? So, like I said, that's pretty lengthy. They're going to fill all of that out before they come in, ideally at least 12 hours before the session. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy their answers. I'm going to put it into a Word document. I'm going to print it out. I'm going to write all over it. I'm going to think through, what I think is important to them, what concerns I have based on things they wrote down in here, and start to really strategize for their session, not from a sales perspective, but from a how can I put this person in the best position to be successful and make sure that we're the right fit to be working with each other standpoint, right? So they fill that out, and then they're going to come in. And now we're going to talk about the BSP Nova proven process, our one-on-one assessment and goal setting session. So they come in, we're going to hook them up with a bottle of water when they come in. The reason why I have these pictures here is because in an ideal world, we're going to give them some type of a legit bottle of water. We don't want to give them 7-Eleven branded El Cheapo, what's the word I'm looking for? Purified drinking water. Giving them a name brand, real good spring water, as silly as it sounds, but it sets a precedent right off the bat. Plus, you're gifting them something and you're starting off this relationship real good, right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to take a walk around the gym and do some small talk and just get to know each other rather than jump right into what they're probably expecting, which is some type of a sales pitch. Now, as we're walking around the gym and doing this, there's two awesome things that are happening. They're actually seeing the training environment live and in person, and they are getting to see that we train completely normal people just like them, as well as see the coaches in action and understand, what they're going to be stepping into here in the coming days. We're also doing some small talk during that time, and I may, if they were referred, we'll talk about who referred them. If maybe there's something from their questionnaire that I'll start talking about at that time. But I kind of point out how the whole process works. It's all real light until we get back to the office and we actually start working through the one-on-one assessment and goal setting session. And the way that I kick it off is I show them this graphic and I explain how everything's going to work during their first month of training with us. Hey, today's session is your one-on-one assessment and goal setting session. After today, and I'll tell them what it's about. And then after today's session, we're going to do what's called a personal orientation session. And, this is where you're going to come in, you're going to learn the warm-ups. We're going to see you do a bunch of foundational movements. And instead of guessing, we're going to know exactly what exercises are appropriate for you to start with in your first program. After that session, we're going to write your program. And then you're going to have an absolutely free week of training. If you decide that this isn't for you during that process, let us know. You'll never be charged $1. But at the end of that week, just like when you sign up for Netflix or Amazon Prime, your membership, your 21-day paid trial, your 21-day VIP experience is going to automatically kick in. It's $199, and it's a 3-week continuation of your trial to really make sure that it's the right fit. And then after that, same thing, that Netflix, Amazon Prime deal, your membership is automatically going to kick in. Again, if you decide at any point during this that this isn't for you, just let us know. Free week, you'll never be charged $1. 21-day VIP, you'll never be charged another $1. And if for some reason you decide that this was such a complete waste of time and provided no value to your life that you can carry forward, you let me know, and I will refund your $199. That's never happened, okay? So we do that. I also explained to them that I understand that can be overwhelming. So on the back side of that card, just like when you go to the doctors where they still do the old school, like here's your card with your date and time for your next appointment, we have that on the back side of this card that they're going to leave the session with. And this is like a postcard size. Actually, if you're looking at this on a desktop, you're probably seeing it about the size that it actually is, maybe like 4x6 or so. But yeah, so we go over that. And then we're going to talk through their sheet. And it's not like I jump right into talking through the sheet. I'll say, do you have any pressing questions off the bat? Is there anything that you're really looking to get answered today? And, we'll see where that goes. Once we get through that, we will get to reading through the questionnaire that they filled out online. And, there's almost never an occurrence where I don't have questions for them. In fact, there never, ever is an occurrence. I don't know why I said almost never. There's never an occurrence where I don't have questions for them. And I will make sure that we roll through this thing. It's like the discovery part. All right, if I'm understanding you correctly, you're looking to do this, like talk to me about that. And just get them to, sure, they already wrote it down, but I've never had someone that is like, well, it's written there, you already know. People are dying to talk about what it is that they want to accomplish. And seeing it written and then having that longer conversation, I can't think of a single time where I haven't gotten even more clarity out of the conversation. And we start to talk through like, well, what have the problems been in the past, right? We have that on the sheet, but now I can ask direct questions of, hey, why do you think X didn't work? Or, wow, you had great success with X, and but it seems like something changed and you're no longer doing that, or you didn't maintain the results. Like, talk me through that. Like, why do you think that is? I'm learning things that we can overcome. But we're going to go through the whole sheet and really just start to get some clarity on what we'd like to accomplish, where we've been, and what I think the best path to move forward is going to be. Throughout this process, as we talk about nutrition, I'll introduce our nutrition card and our nutrition coaching program. I'll talk about how a lot of people, when they join the gym, think about, training and nutrition, but there's actually 6 other areas that are often overlooked. And when people miss these, they're really missing out on the ultimate benefit that they could have with this total lifestyle improvement. And it's not that we want this card on the left here to overwhelm them, but it should, what's the word I'm looking for? It should be kind of like mentally freeing to be like, oh, I don't have to put all my eggs into the consistent training and nutrition basket. I've got these other things I can work on too. And it doesn't mean we need to work on all of them at once. In fact, I never want someone working on all of them at once. But it should feel good to realize like, oh, all right, it's not all about crushing myself in the gym and dieting and hating life. No, there's some pretty cool stuff on here. We also want to get clear on what their schedule is going to look like, because the last thing that we would want is for them to be like, yeah, I signed up for the gym, and then just totally leave it up to them to kind of design like, oh, well, when should I go? What should I be doing? We also give them tips on a really common issue that we see coming in. And we're not like covering all this stuff in depth in this session. We're just we're gifting them all of this stuff right then and there. And then once we kind of walk through the sheet, we introduce all those things, we get to what we call our certainty session. So before they come in, I've already written in what their 1-year goal is based on what they wrote on their intake form. We're going to break that down and ask them what they'd like to accomplish in the next 4 to 6 months. What would make them happy in the next 4 to 6 months? We're going to take the schedule that they said would be ideal during this card here on the right, and we're going to copy that in. But then we're going to say, hey, in our experience of doing this for many, many years, inevitably, life's going to happen and things are going to get really, really busy for you. And the worst thing that you could do is not have a fallback plan. So we have this busy schedule section where it's like, what's the minimum that we're still going to commit to when things get crazy? And we can talk through some if thens. All right, if work is keeping me later, I'll do this. Whatever it may be, but we can start to work out some options for when life happens, right? Then for us, we have some coaching courses. Like I said, we have a nutrition course. It's just about ready. We have a new member enrollment course that kind of introduces them to all things BSB Nova, and we have some other ones in the works. But we'll talk through, if any, what we think would be a good option for them to start with, and we'll write down what date their coaching courses are going to start. And then below that, one of the worst things that we can do is just have someone blindly working out and go off of emotion only. We want them to actually get them. We want to actually get them to do some objective measures. And so we've got 4 options here, but obviously there are more than 4 options. We have their sheet, how can we measure progress, strength and things like that. Yep, those are going to be measured on the program sheet. But when it comes to body composition, weekly average body weight, body fat percentage, circumference measurements, photos, some people like to do how my clothes fit, but something that we can consistently measure so that we're not just going off of emotion. Because as all of us know, emotions are high one day, low the next, high for 2 days, low for the next 7. And it's real easy for someone to just completely fall out of the routine of showing up to the gym. So we want to help people to understand adhering to the process. That is the first win. Mike Baranas actually put up a cool image quote thing that he had said to a client recently about something along the lines of, early on in the process, the first accomplished goal should be adhering to the process, right? So that's why we're going over the schedule. And then the measures, right? We do want to have objective measures so that we know, like, hey, look, no, we're not wasting our time. Here's these improvements that we've made. Or things aren't working. Hey, let's go back to this card here on the left and look, like, how are we doing with training? How are we doing with nutrition? Do we have a real aim that we're going after? How's your sleep? Are you active outside the gym, or is it like, sure, you get in here for 2 to 5, that'd be a lot, 2 to 3, maybe 4 hours a week, and the rest of the week you're not really doing anything? Are you doing anything to take care of yourself, your active self-care? Are you getting downtime and creating mental space, or are you pretty stressed out running from one thing to the next? And do you have a good connection and support team around you, right? So if things aren't working, we can look at all these things and look at what potentially could be adjusted. And while that might sound like, if that happens, people would be so frustrated, well, people feel pretty good when they know that they can get answers to why things might not be working, and they have a team on their side that's going to help them to progress forward, right? And then we also give them, before they go, what we call the declaration. The last thing we want, we said, is for them to not know when to show up to the gym. We've done that, but we also want them to know what's expected of them and what they can expect of us, and that's the declaration. So, we expect them to be consistent with their training, to train relatively easy. We want them to leave the gym feeling better than they did coming in every single day, knowing they could have done a little bit more. We want them to be open and honest in their communication with the coaches about what they want and how they're feeling, so that we actually have all the information we need to guide them in the pursuit of their goals. The worst thing would be if someone hates their program and they're afraid to tell us. So to keep that from happening, we let them know right off the bat, hey, we have zero emotional attachment to any programs that we write. If you don't like something, it's going to increase the likelihood that you're not going to be consistent with getting here, which means that you're not going to accomplish your goals, right? So let us know. We have no emotional attachment to this stuff. Next up, take 100% ownership over the effectiveness of your training. Like I said, you're only here 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 hours a week at most. That's a lot of time outside of here that we can sabotage the progress. And the last one, be forgiving of yourself and keep in mind that we're striving for progress, not perfection. Kind of going back to that 100% ownership over the effectiveness of our training, we're not looking for 100% adherence and perfection. Nope. Better is better. We should be more concerned with our current trajectory than our current result. And then what they can expect of us, we're here to put you in the best position to be successful, literally, figuratively. We're going to regularly meet with you to assess progress and plan forward. We will always be open and honest with you. We're always going to be continually improving at all aspects of our craft to bring you the most effective, efficient means to accomplish your goals and beyond. And our aim is to be the best part of your day. So there's what we expect of them. That's what they can expect of us. Boom. Bang, done. Okay. Then we also, before they finish up this process of sitting out at the desk, we let them know that we need to earn their trust first. We know that. But if at some point they are just loving this process, when they are loving this process and they're thinking, man, I would love for one of my friends, coworkers, their spouse, their neighbor, whoever, to join them on this journey, they can actually hook them up with an absolutely free month. And we've got these really cool metal cards to make it happen, like Todd talked about in the referral lesson. So again, we're not asking them for a referral at this time, but we're putting this out there. Sometimes people will say, oh, I know someone right now. Oh, awesome. You want to get a metal card? But we're just giving them a heads up that this will be brought up again at some point. And then after talking through everything, we're hooking them up with all this stuff. We've problem solved. We've come up with this ideal schedule, a fallback schedule, how we're going to measure progress, gone over expectations. We finally do their sign-up paperwork. Okay, we knock out their sign-up paperwork before we finally hit the floor for the very last thing, which is to do their FMS, right? We're going to put up a video that's all about how we use the FMS. So I'm going to go quick here. This is really just about providing the overview. But, you know, I love this quote from Charlie Weingroff. The FMS is simply a test of can you get your body into the right positions, both mechanically and neurologically, to absorb and adapt to stress. So the deep squat is telling us about squat patterns, hurdle step, single leg balance, inline lunge, split stance, single leg balance supported, shoulder mobility, pushing, sometimes pulling, essentially how good can your shoulders move, active straight leg raise, going to give us some information about hinging and our core stability, trunk stability push-up, core stability, horizontal pushing, rotary stability, crawling, locomotion, rotation. Again, I'm going to show a video where we kind of walk through some of this stuff, but we're getting all that information from the FMS. But as we're going to be progressing on the FMS, let's say that someone is just like atrocious on the FMS. Do we need to correct all of that? Well, what do you think? This person comes to you and they have a 50-pound weight loss goal. They want to accomplish this, that, and the other thing. You FMS them and you're like, oh man, we're gonna need to correct all this. No, we don't. We don't have to correct it. We don't have to. But we do need to respect the information that it gives us. We don't want to become a corrective exercise specialist, okay? No one hires a corrective exercise specialist. At least they shouldn't be. They should be working with a physical therapist in that case, right? And maybe we can bridge the gap, right? And I say maybe, like we bridge the gap all the time, to be honest with you, but only when that person is saying that that's what they're looking for, right? And it doesn't mean that we ignore it and we don't try and correct anything on their FMS, but we put them in the best positions to be successful, safe and effective training using what we learned from the FMS and what we're going to learn in their personal orientation. And of course, you're going to see we're going to do things to address their mobility, their stability, and their movement patterns to try and improve their FMS. But that is secondary, not the safe and effective, but improving their FMS is secondary to helping them accomplish their goals, right? Unless their FMS is so atrocious and they have pain and everything, sure, we might need to refer out. We'll talk more about that later. What are we looking for with the FMS? Well, this is really going to be covered in that video, but at the end of the day, I just want to know, can they squat? Can they balance on one leg? Can they lunge or split squat? If not, are they at least stable in half kneeling? Can they get into the range of motion for training pain-free from a shoulder mobility perspective? Can they dissociate their hips and still control their core for active straight leg raise? Can they touch their toes? Can they plank? Can they do a push-up? Can they get into a quadruped position without any pain, wrists, knees, all kinds of things come up. Are they stable and able to resist rotation, right? So we finish the FMS. We ask them if they have any questions, comments, concerns, if they're clear on what's going to happen at their personal orientation session, bing, bang, boom, high fives, fist bumps. At this point, they were probably just introduced to the coaches. They're riding high. They're leaving certainty about what's coming up, about what they need to do, and they're raring to go with this whole process. So high five, fist bump. We will see you on this day at this time for your personal orientation. If you need anything at all in the meantime, don't hesitate to ask. All right? So that is our one-on-one assessment and goal setting session. I know it's still like a 30-some minute video, but that's a quick overview of it. How long does this process take? Honestly, this could run anywhere from 60 minutes on the short end, but many of them run about 90 minutes. So 60 to 90 minutes is my most common answer. I do have some that have gone 2 hours, I design these so I don't do them back to back because they're mentally draining. That's not a bad thing. It's just that I put everything I can into this session, and I have a hard time doing two of them back to back. And I will take whatever time I need to put this person in the best position to be successful right off the bat. Okay. One-on-one assessment and goal setting session done. Next up, we're going to talk about more of the interview in depth tomorrow. And then we're going to go through our personal orientation the day after that. Boom. Talk to you guys soon.